Hello again, everybody, to the Fox Score Network. We welcome you. Robertson Viar is back on again. Washington Savant. I am Ben Parker. We are loaded tonight. The Commanders have done the unthinkable, the laughable, the thing that makes us smile, not just because we're a Commanders fan, which Robertson obviously is, but just as a fan of long suffering fan bases everywhere to give us hope. Here we are. Washington is here. They knocked off the big dogs in Detroit, and they're in the NFC title game. Robertson, can you believe it? With a chance, a legit chance to go to the Super Bowl. Before we analyze anything
Yeah.
on the past game or the future game, talk to us, man. How does this feel? Again,
Oh my gosh. That was Saturday night was the most anxious, nervous, excited, euphoric, I've ever felt watching this team. Uh, it is truly unbelievable. The second quarter was absolute mayhem, the back and forth. It was just a wild, wild time. You go up 38-28 with 13 seconds left or 13 minutes left, and I start thinking to myself, like, man, is this actually happening? Like, is this possible that we pulled this off? And then, you get the interception on the trick play. Then we get the ensuing touchdown. It's a three-score game with 7.5 minutes left. And, with an explosive offense, it's still possible to come back, but it's like, oh my God,
oh, yeah. Yes.
is this happening right now? And reality starts to set in, and then time starts ticking down, and then there's the game stealing interception, and I mean, I have not been. I mean, it's crazy. Just the pure joy and disbelief of it all. The culmination of a release of 25, 26 years of just absolute crap. You know, um, just frustration and a loss of hope of anything resembling a a team of legitimate success or even a respectable team.
Yeah.
That just didn't seem at all possible until this past year. It's a truly memorable season. It means something, regardless of what happens on Sunday. It means something to a lot of people, and I'm one of those people, So um, we'll always have this season that moment on Saturday where we knock off a one seed on the road. That was
Yeah.
just crazy. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a fluke either. So
No, it wasn't. We'll get to that game a little bit, but listen, because I'm old as dirt now, I get the privilege of pulling out the old man card every once in a while, talking about back in my day. And I was old enough to catch the tail end, maybe the latter third of the Washington dominant years. So I got to see their Super Bowl win, uh, rather dominant Super Bowl win over the Buffalo Bills in the early 90s. But even before that, I got to see them be one of just the absolute stalwart teams on the NFC side were basically them and the 49ers and the Giants and even the Bears basically just took turns getting through a slugfest of that NFC playoffs to see who was going to get the Super Bowl. And it was what, 15, 16 straight years of NFC dominance in the Super Bowls because you had these four teams just killing each other. And Washington was one of those. And then you just had the drought, the desert, the absolute nothing burger of a quarter century, man, of just crap. And it's gone now. I mean,
it's
it's all
gone.
gone.
It's
No matter
gone
what
just like
happens from
that.
here on out, that is gone. It's
Yeah.
man, it's so excited. It's so fun. We can sit here and talk about it all day. Um, Let me go over a little bit of the stats just real quick here because y'all really did control this game. Detroit did not. You did. Now, a large part of that was the turnovers, and that's really un Detroit like, right? But we've talked about over the past few seasons, no matter how good Garrett Goff is, he's prone to this. He's prone to golfing. And even the team itself did this a little bit, but a large part of this was Goff too. So the turnovers here, five to none, man. I mean, just killer. And Detroit couldn't overcome that. The passing yards were pretty close. Detroit got that. The rush yards are pretty close. Detroit had that. Red zone, y'all shined 4 out of 4. Detroit struggles 3 out of 6. Right, that's a big difference there. Third downs, y'all were only 4 out of 12, but you went on fourth down 4 times and converted 3 of those. So essentially, you were 7 out of 12 in continuing these drives. Right.
Mhm.
Um, Detroit did good on the fourth downs, but the turnovers were huge. But the driving force behind it all, turnovers or not, was that you're scoring points, man. You were scoring points. And if you couldn't do that, the turnovers wouldn't happen as often and they wouldn't matter as much, So your ability to score points is making this happen here. And I know Detroit fans are like, hey, we just didn't have our best guys out there for defense, and that's true. I get it, but still, this was Washington being good, continuing to be good, and then the Lions turnovers. But just what a day here. Anything else you want to add on this particular game before we get into the NFC title game, man?
Man, no, I'm just gonna say this about Jayden. Um, there is at this moment in time, right now, there is no. It is impossible to speak in hyperbole about this guy. Anything that you say about him when describing him is pretty much fair game at this point. If you're talking about right now, like right now at this moment, he nothing. So we've heard several times if you're listening to any sports talk radio or watching any like the big shows, daytime, the daytime talk shows, sports talk shows and whatnot about. Well, he's not the first rookie to make it to the championship game. There's been others, King, Big Ben, Flacco, Sanchez, but they all have one thing, many things in common, but nothing in common with Jayden other than being a rookie. They had great running games, stables of running backs, and weapons upon weapons upon weapons, and they all had top five defenses. Jayden doesn't have any of that. He doesn't have any of that. Not only that, they were asked to be game managers. He's being asked to go win us the football game. And that is a massive difference. Game manager versus, hey, go make a play, go make the right decision, go pick up this fourth down on the road in a hostile environment. And he just does it like it's nothing. This man right now, he is playing, and like I said, it's impossible speaking of hyperbole. I told you this before we started recording. Watching him like just drop back in he's a pocket passer. Everyone wants to say that, oh, he's a running quarterback. No. He's not a running quarterback. He's a quarterback that can run just very well. He's a pocket passer. This man has the playmaking ability of akin to Mahomes. He has the precision accuracy that we've seen lately from Joe Burrow these couple years. And he has this poise and this calmness and this confidence that I have only felt watching one other quarterback, and that is Tom Brady. Whenever he had the ball in his hands late in the game, I was like, well, it's over for the other team. I feel that way when Jayden has the ball in his hands with a chance to win the game or a chance to seal a game. I know he's going to make the right play. I know he's going to make the right decision. I know he's going to make a play. He's going to convert a big third down or a big fourth down. When hasn't he yet this year? I have been shown no other evidence otherwise. So he's not flawless. There's flaws to his game, yes, but he's no one is playing better than him right now. Not nobody.
It's so fun to watch. Again, his poise is the big thing. There's lots of things, but the poise is the big thing. Goodness gracious. And 2 road wins here.
Yeah,
That's a big deal. There are some pretty good quarterbacks who don't have even one on their resume who have been in the league for a while. He's already got 2 playoff wins and 2 on the road, and one of them
yeah.
against a 1 seed. I mean,
It
all
almost
right,
doesn't make sense.
let's enjoy it, but let's move on because they do have another game here
Yeah.
against the loved Eagles, the city of brotherly love, who loves everybody and everybody loves them. And
Oh yeah.
of course, y'all got real cozy feelings here about your your division rival. I'm sure y'all love everybody over there, and they love you too. So I'm sure it'll be a real cute, nice, sweet game between two brothers, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. No fist fights, no
Ah,
throwing of
none of
beer
that.
cans or beer bottles or anything of that sort. No, none of that. None of that's gonna happen.
Okay, so as we've done, listen, we are not going to take the time, make the time here to do a super long show where we talk about everything. But as we've done the past 2 weeks, we're going to talk about what we would like to see out of the Commanders' offense against this Eagles defense. And listen, we know it's a good Eagles defense, a lot better than the Detroit defense. We know that. Better than the Buccaneers defense. We know that. Some people would suggest this is the best defense in the NFL. I'm not sure I'm there, but that doesn't matter. This is a really good defense, starting with, I don't know, somewhere around week 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there. It's been one of the best defenses in football. And I don't mean top 10, I mean top 4 or 5, somewhere in there. It's just really good. So we're going to explore that a little bit, try to poke a couple of holes in it, see if there's a something we can do as a Commander's offense to try to create some yards, create some points, and put pressure back on that Eagles offense, which is basically the Barkley show. All right. I mean, that's what it is. It's the Barkley show over there. Hurts isn't doing much of anything. It's a good wide receiver group, but they're not bonding with Hurts a lot. There's just not a lot going on over there other than the Barkley show. They can produce, and we've seen it, but it hasn't been consistent. It's been the Barkley show almost all year. So let's talk about it. I've got 4 things. Robertson's got 4 things, and let's work our way through it. So my number one here for the Commanders' offense is just a generic. It's not a specific, but it's be patient. Okay, reason for that is obvious. You are looking at a very, very good Eagles defense here, but not just good. They do like to play back. I believe, Robertson, before we started the show, you used the term coverage shell. They play, I think, 75% of the time they play zone. That's not unusual. It's the NFL, right? Zones rule right now, right? But only about 25% of the time are they playing man. What is unusual isn't just how much zone they play, but the fact that they love to have 4 guys back, 3 guys back, not just single high or 2 high. It's 4 back. They love to create, allow, I'll put it that way, not create, allow. They love to allow a lot of space here between their cover guys and the wide receivers. It's remarkable when you look at it. Like, oh my gosh, there's all kind of yardage here to get underneath. And to a degree, that's true, but the Eagles play it so well, they really do limit what you can do. So they are looking to stop the run. They do that very well. They are looking to eliminate all deep and big plays, and then they're going to try to limit what you do underneath. But what that means for Washington early on, I want to see them be patient. I don't want to see them give the game away here in the first quarter because they're being hyper aggressive and they're all of a sudden asking Daniels to stand in the pocket and make 3 reads, 4 reads against a really intelligent Eagles defense. I don't want to start the game off that way. So let's be patient. Let's look for the underneath stuff where it is. Let's take what the defense has given us. I know that's cliche, but I think it's true here because in Philly here, if you were, we haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen Daniels goof it up yet, but he's still a rookie. And he did have against Tampa Bay those 2 plays that could have and maybe should have been picked off and weren't. I don't want in the first quarter here to have a big interception or a pick six and all of a sudden with a big Barkley run, maybe be down 14-0 in Philly. I don't want to start that way. So I want to be patient. We're going to be intelligently aggressive. We're going to get downfield eventually, but let's not be stupid downfield. So that's my number one here. First quarter, be patient. Keep it simple. Keep it 1 to 2 reads. Keep mixing it up. Keep Daniels rolled out. I know that's some generic stuff. I'm going to be specific here in a minute. But first of all, be patient because this is a good Eagles defense. And you don't want to get out of hand early. And you want to make this a long game in terms of, hey, we're in it all the way to the end of the fourth quarter, right? Where Daniels is really good. So that's what I'm looking for here. Your number one?
So there's a theme to my points, and it's make Jalen Hurts beat you. And I know we're talking offense, and I'll make that point. Is Detroit felt the pressure. And I think we all felt them feel the
Yep.
pressure when we were
Yes.
scoring. We were matching them and they had felt the pressure. So make Jalen Hurts, you know, beat you. And the way that we do that, which is my first point here, is controlling time of possession. If you're controlling time of possession, you're going on these long drives and you're converting them to touchdowns. That's putting pressure back on Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense. And that's I don't want to say limiting what Saquon is going to be able to do, but if, just say for example here, opening drive, we get a touchdown. I'm just throwing out a scenario here. We open drive, we get a touchdown. We're packing the box. We're trying our best to stop Saquon. Just say they go three and out, or they only get so far and have to punt. We go on another long drive, convert another touch. Again, I'm just throwing it out there. All of a sudden they're down 14-0, and it's like, well, we need to
Right.
stick with Saquon, but we need to get Jalen Hurts going and this pass offense going. That's not going to be good for them. So that's going to throw them off their game plan and so forth. So controlling time of possession, going on long drives, converting touchdowns after those long drives. Um, to me, that is the big number one for me to beat this team.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that is possible because game script matters so much in the NFL. This isn't college; this is the pros. Game script matters so much. If you can get a double-digit lead somewhere in the first half, you are now in control of the game. You may not stay in control, but you are in control of the game. You start to get to dictate stuff, and if you can get up by being patient, long drives. I do expect long drives here by Washington. I don't think they're going to. It's unlikely they're going to score quick too often. I expect long drives against a good Eagles defense that gives up short yardage stuff. Um, so I expect the long drives. But if you were to get up 10-0, 13-3, anything like that, what you can do as Washington is start to drop people back because you might say, well, we can load up the box, which you can, but you can also put a third safety back there to now limit Barkley from that 60-yard freaking touchdown, which he had two of basically against the Rams, right? Two huge
Hmm.
touchdowns. So you then force Philly to be patient. You force Hurts to make those plays. You force Barkley to be patient with short runs and not the big long ones, which are just automatic touchdowns and just cut you to the heart, right? So if you can get up early, great. But somehow or the other, you got to make Hurts play. So keep the slow, long drives. You keep the ball, get some points out of it. Pressure's back on Philly. Now they kind of have to deliver. They might deliver anyway, but that's what we want to do. I like that one. Number two on my side is more screens than runs. Uh, in the first playoff game that Washington was in, I wanted them to throw a bunch of screens. Last week, I said, "Hey, I think you can run the football," and they could to some degree. They wasn't dominant, but they were running the football. Not just with Daniels. I think Daniels had somewhere 80, 90, 100 yards rushing on his own, but you also had the equivalent amount from the running backs too. They could run some. You're going to have a hard time doing that against Philly. All right, and everybody knows it. But listen, Kyron Williams ran for about 100 yards with the Rams last week off Philly. It can be done. We saw it early in the season from another team too, but it's unlikely. It's unlikely that Washington is going to be able to get a lot of yards up the middle against this. And listen, I've got a couple of guys highlighted in green here. The defensive tackles here not only are good at pushing the pile to get to the quarterback, they're good at pushing the pile to stop the runs too, right? So I want to see more screens than runs. You don't quit running the football, but I want to see more screens, and I especially want to see Austin Eckler get through this. Over the past few weeks, since he's gotten back healthy, we've seen him pick up more and more receiving yards, 40, 50, sometimes 70 yards receiving. So I think he can have a big day here. Remember, I said you've got this shell coverage here, 4 deep, 3 deep sometimes. And listen, the Eagles are so good, they're not going to allow Eckler to go 30, 40, 50 yards, but there are yards to be had here in the screen game. And I want to see Washington use that with any running back, but especially with Eckler to try to get these yards here in the screen game. I really want to see them mix this up that way. Again, you don't quit running the football, but we're changing our percentage this week. Instead of run more last week, which I suggested against Detroit, and cut the screens down, you increase the screens, and the running game down here in the middle is going to shrink by a lot. So that's where I'm going on my number two. All right, time for Robertson's number two, man.
All right. I like the screen point. My only contention of that would be the first matchup on Thursday night against them. They were really tuned into our screen game. So it's got to look different. It's got to be varied. You can't just call two or three straight screens. We talked about that before, but uh that would be my only contention is they were really keyed in to our screen game the first matchup. My second point is try to stretch the field. Like I know we're talking about this essentially quarters coverage almost on the back end here. But just having that threat, right? So even if you're going to send Terry or De'Ami Brown, you know, on a go route, throw the ball, throw it out of bounds. It's worth the shot. Okay. They might have stopped it, or heck, maybe you caught somebody sleeping and you might get it. But just having that threat and saying, you know what, I know you're going to play shell and I'm going after you anyway. Having that in the back of Vic Fangio's head, be like, we can't let anything behind us and they're going to try it anyway, even if you end up throwing it out of bounds incomplete, having that in the back of their head. So maybe they drop back a little bit further, and that's going to open up the middle of the field a little bit more for you, or open up the run game a little bit more for you. Then to me, that's you have to at least take one or two shots early in the first half.
Yeah, and I'm going to come with the same idea, but from a much different vantage point here. So I'm going to say I don't know really how to type this. I'll explain it easier. I'm gonna say look for single coverage, and that's gonna be a little weird for especially for those of you who are Eagles fans or who know the Eagles here. The Eagles don't do single coverage a lot. All right, they play man. I mentioned I think early in the show, 25% of the time. The rest of the time is all zone and it's deep zone. Right, it's four deep or three deep. So they don't do a lot of single coverage. If you catch it though, Jayden Daniels, and again, I'm not suggesting that Daniels has the arm strength, not even close to a Mahomes or Allen or even a Lamar, but
No.
we've seen Jayden Daniels have success throwing the football down the field basically since week two. He has that in his arsenal. And to me, there's no reason to be afraid of this Eagles secondary. It's very smart. It is physical. With Quinyon Mitchell over there, it's fast. But there's no reason to be afraid of it as long as you're intelligent. So look for single coverage, single high. So if you get that, and whether it's McLaren or De'Ami Brown, if you get that single high look where they're sucking up here, I have no problem with them catching that and going after that. Daniels is smart enough to and accurate enough to do that. And I don't care if it's getting over the top of the defender or if it's just, hey, pushing, toward the out of bounds. Either way, he's good enough to do that. But I watched the Rams this past week with Matthew Stafford against the Eagles in the snow. I watched them really figure something out here, especially in the third quarter, that made the Eagles do something different. So, and I think my AirPods are going out here. So, can you still hear me?
Yes, yeah, I can still hear you.
All right. So, just a heads up, the audience. I'm sorry, I may have to switch sound device here in just a second with the AirPods thing. But um, what I watched the Rams do, this was when the Eagles were in, their shell coverage. I mean, they got people deep here, and
Yep.
Cooper DeJean's right here. He usually just mans up the slot, and he has help over top, so he gets to kind of rough guys up slow in the short area. But what I watched the Rams do is take this receiver right here and basically drive him right at this quarter covers guy. I mean, just drive him right at him. And basically, what they're doing, they're forcing the Eagles in that moment to be back in man coverage, single coverage, because you don't have help here. You got help to the inside, but you don't have help here. And Stafford repeatedly in the second and third quarters was very aggressively going up, just basically sending these routes. And McVay was doing this too, was pushing this all the way up into the Eagles defenders. Often it was Darius Slay, and then either going out here or getting the option up here. And the Eagles don't like to give this up, right? So usually it's here. And Stafford was doing that repeatedly, so much so, in fact, that we watched the Eagles start to drop 5 in the box. to get pressure on Stafford before he could hit that deep route. You could see it late third, early fourth quarter. You could see the Eagles, and that actually produced the 2 turnovers late. It was Eagles pressure that produced those 2 fumbles late because they had to switch to 5 men here on the front, getting after Stafford to keep Stafford from hitting this deep shot. And so my thought is with that, and again, Daniel's arm now is as close is somewhat close to what Stafford's arm is now, not what Stafford's arm used to be, but it's closer now than it used to be. Daniels can do that too. All right, there's no reason to be afraid of Slay. I would probably stay away from Cooper DeJean right here in the middle, more than likely. And if I can, I'll stay away from Mitchell, unless it's McLaren on Mitchell. But still, Mitchell's speed gives you problems. But for Darius Slay and the 2 safeties here, I'm not going to be afraid of them. If I can get McLaren or Brownie the one up here in routes and coverage out, because again, the Eagles don't like to give up this deep stuff. Push it, go out with it. That play is there, to the tune of 15, 20, 25 yards. You can get that. And again, not all day, but even if you don't get it, maybe you get the pass interference call. There's no reason here for the Commanders to only sit on the underneath stuff. They can push, especially with McLaren, to some of the deep stuff. I would stay away from Mitchell and I would stay away from Cooper DeJean, but they can push on this. And this Eagles secondary, while it's good and it's intelligent and it's a very well-designed unit, it is not unbeatable. The Rams got to them last week. Other teams have. Commanders can do that, pick their shots. I think that goes hand in hand with your stretch the field, even though you were coming at it from a different angle. So, all right, I talked about that one a lot. What's your number 3?
So mine is kind of a two-parter. I want to avoid Jalen Carter at all costs. That's part one. And I know you can't fully avoid him. You're going to have to go at him or get him in a read option or zone read scenario here. But if you're going to do that, then to me, you have to have your 5 best offensive linemen out there. And Sam Cosmi is currently out probably all of next year as well with a torn ACL, or most of next year as well with a torn ACL. And he was as you and our good friend Simon Short, he was our best offensive lineman. It was probably not close. I mean, Biotish would be the next guy, but he's a good center, but I don't think he's a great center necessarily. So to me, your 5 best offensive linemen would be something that me and you have both been clamoring for since he was signed in Washington, is getting Andrew Wiley kicked back inside where his natural position was in Kansas City, where he had his best years as a guard. And I know that's messing with things, and this is not necessarily the time to experiment, but putting Wiley at that right guard spot and putting Cornelius Lucas, who has had time at both tackle spots this year and hasn't been necessarily great, but he's been serviceable. Putting those 2 on the right side, to me, just makes the most sense, and it's your five best guys. Now, if one of them is to go down, then you can do shuffling again, right? But Trent Scott was the guard that was in against Detroit when Cosme went down, and he played okay. But against Jalen Carter, I don't necessarily trust a journeyman tackle playing guard to block Jalen Carter. I just don't like that idea. I would much rather kick Wiley inside and have Lucas on the outside. And I get that's a big adjustment, and during the most important game of the season, but it's your 5 best guys. And, if you're not doing that, then to me, I don't want to say you're conceding, but you're pretty much saying, yeah, Jalen Carter, go ahead and feast in the backfield. Because even with Cosme in there, he got the best of Cosme. Right. So to me,
right.
You got to do everything you can to slow him down.
Yeah, and I like that. I love Wiley at guard. And again, if we were playing real musical chairs and all of a sudden you were swapping 4 offensive linemen to different places that they hadn't really done much all year, I wouldn't be a fan, because all of a sudden now in my head I'm creating 4 weak spots, even though I might be getting my best 5 on the field. But that's not what this is. This is, hey, I've already got a weak spot because I've got a backup here because I've got an injury. Let's move a guy who's got years, not just a few games, years of experience at guard. Let's slide him right over to guard, and we'll put a guy in at tackle who's got years of experience at tackle too. So we're not mixing up the entire line. We're making a switch. I like.
Um, and I'm sorry, hang on just a second.
Yep, you're good. It picked right up.
Can y'all hear me yet?
Yep, you should be good.
All right, man. So sorry about that. AirPods went out, but we'll keep on moving here with my device audio. So I like the Wiley to guard thing. And listen, no matter what, the Eagles defensive line is a handful for Washington, for anybody in the NFL. It's a handful, right? So no matter what, that's going to be a problem. But I like this. This gives at least more of a chance here to help. And Carter's going to get his, right? He's going to get his
Mhm.
push. He's going to get his headache problems here. But I like this. It gives you a good chance here. So my number 4 here is going to be, let's pass over the middle a little bit. Now, I don't know that I would do this as much with Nakobe Dean in there, but Nakobe Dean is out, right? He's gone for the year, I think. And we watched the Rams last week. Whoever's playing this other linebacker spot, whether it's Trotter or whether they bring in one of the other linebackers who's a backup, whoever they bring in here at the linebacker spot is just not going to be particularly good in pass coverage, and they're not going to be as experienced at working with everybody else here in the Eagles defense. So I really want to run routes right here. Okay. Now I got to stay away from Cooper DeJean. I'm not going to have a great time working off of that because again, he has help over the top. He even has help to the outer out of bounds side. He gets to kind of rough them up there. But whoever Cooper DeJean is not on, I really want to run these routes here, attack this area. We've seen it work. The Commanders have done this a lot this year. I really like that. So that's where I'm going to go here. If I'm the Commanders, I really want to attack this area right here, wherever the linebackers is, and the different ways to do it. But I think I can have a lot of success right in there because not only do I have a backup linebacker coming in there, but this is the soft spot of the Eagles zone, if you will. They like to cover all the deep stuff. They love to stop the run. Priority number 3, not 1 or 2, priority 3 for them is to cut off the middle stuff. Now they're smart at handing people off from one zone to the next. But again, this is a backup linebacker who they obviously didn't want on the field a lot this year. Otherwise, he would have been playing more. Not only is communication going to be a bit more of an issue, but just talent, period. So I want to run as much of that stuff there. Stay away from Bone and DeJean. Run a bunch of that stuff there to the middle. That's my 4th thing. I think there are yards to be had here. And honestly, early on, that's probably where I'm going to go. Early on, I'm going to go there before I start taking my deep shots. So that's what I like there for number 4. All right, Robertson, give us one more for the evening, man.
Yeah, and on that point, that means to me a lot of that should be a lot of two back sets with McNichols and Eckler because those are your two quote unquote third down backs that can catch the ball, get yards after catch. To me, that should mean that to at least one of them would be a mismatch on Trotter. Um, my last point is similar to yours. Mine's get Terry on the move and get him involved early because if you keep him out there on the left side matched up against Mitchell, sure, you can try to force the issue a bit, but you're probably not going to have the best success. Get him on the move, get him moving across the formation, and maybe get him in the middle of the field. He's not going to be matched up against a linebacker, but if they're playing that zone and he gets switched off to either Bond or Trotter, that's a mismatch. He's a mismatch in the middle of the field. So get him, get him on the move. Maybe a jet sweep. We haven't seen a jet sweep to him yet. And he didn't really do that much this year, but he's fast enough. He's got the speed for it. So I just need the ball in his hands. He's our best offensive guy. You got to go with your best playmakers, and he's the best guy outside of Jayden on the offensive side. I need him being targeted early and often.
Yeah. And listen, I know it's a good Eagles defense, but we already watched this Commanders team score a lot of points against the Eagles in that second game and move the ball against the Eagles. And while it's not been the norm, we've watched a couple of other teams do it too. So I really think this stuff is here. I already mentioned the stuff over the middle. You've got the running backs running screens here. I like screens out here to this area, just again to stretch the field horizontally. I like the receivers being able to push right here, right up into the safety's grill and challenge them, even though they've got help. They don't have help to that out of bounds side. So I like that. And then even Jayden Daniels himself here running. Goodness gracious, just dangerous as all get out. So that's four different ways to me. I feel like I can move the football here, you know? And yeah, we're going to avoid Carter. We're going to avoid the middle. We're going to avoid Bone a little bit. We're going to avoid Cooper DeJean. I'll probably stay away from Quinyon Mitchell. I still, to me, have four different ways I can move the football. And I like my chances here. I don't feel reason to be scared of Philadelphia. Um, the whole Barkley thing worries me a little bit. But other than that, I don't see any reason to be scared of Philadelphia. They're a good team. I get it. There's talent everywhere. They have probably four of the top five position groups in football at four different position
Yeah.
groups. The talent's there. I'm not afraid of them. I feel like I got a chance here. Really do. So, all right. Final thoughts here, Matt.
Yeah, I really think that we have a shot in this game. Um, first game I thought, we're not as talented as Tampa Bay. They'll probably pull away late, and they didn't, and we ended up winning that one. Detroit, I thought like, man, we're about to get curb stomped by these guys. Me and you, we talked on our show,
Yeah.
odds on favorite.
Yeah.
We're like, it's gonna be a double-digit victory by Detroit. Washington will keep it competitive for as long as they can, and then Detroit's just gonna pull away. That was just gonna be the reality of the situation. Now that we're here, I really feel like, you know, if we gave them what 20-30% last week,
Yeah.
chance to win. I really think it's like I'll give the slight lean to the Eagles to pull this off just because of the talent discrepancy and it's so high and
Right.
Saquon has destroyed us in both of the games.
Mhm.
I'm gonna give it 55-45 that they win. So I mean 45% to beat the odds on favorite right now to win the Super Bowl is pretty dang optimistic in my estimation. On the road to beat this team. I'm telling you right now, I'm not a big homer because if I was a homer, I'd be picking them to run away with this game, right?
Right.
If they beat the Eagles here, I don't care who comes out of the AFC, we probably are beating them. I don't. If we can beat these guys and we beat Detroit, nothing on the AFC side scares me. They really don't because we've played more talented teams. We haven't played better quarterbacks, but this is real. This is legitimately real. We have a legit shot to beat Philly in Philly and go to the Super Bowl. I can't even believe I'm saying those words that we could actually be going to the Super Bowl. In a week from now, we could be having a conversation about Washington in a Super Bowl since 1991. I mean, that's blowing my mind that we're even here at this point. But that I don't even know how I would react. I don't even I can't even fathom that right now. It would just be so I can't even describe it. But it's going to be an exciting game. I'm here for it. I'll be up for it. Excited as usual, but just enjoy it, man. If you're listening to this and you're a fan, even if you're not a fan, man, how can you not love this? Who wants to see Philly in another Super Bowl? You don't want to see Philly. Unless you're a Philly fan, you don't want to see it. So just enjoy it, man. Just enjoy it.
See, I'm in the same boat when it comes to playing Philadelphia. Maybe I shouldn't be, but I'm less scared of playing Philadelphia than I was of playing Detroit. And I realize that Philly's defense is literally on the other end of the spectrum from Detroit's defense. However, you've already shown that you can go up against this Eagles defense. And Barkley notwithstanding, that Lions offense is a whole lot better than this Eagles offense, You've got Barkley hitting some huge stuff here, but if you can limit any of that, you know, quit giving up 60-yard touchdowns. If you can at least do that, you give yourself a chance. I've got them at 40 to 45% chance to win this game too. Again, it still looks like an Eagles victory. And you never know when the magic carpet ride just runs out, right? We know that's
Yeah.
always a possibility, but I haven't
Hmm.
seen that. They've continued to show that they're playing better than what their talent would even suggest here. So I don't predict that stopping here in Philadelphia, especially considering they've played Philadelphia twice this year. And even the first game, they were in it for like a quarter and a half, and then Philly kind of took off from them there. But they didn't get ran out in the first game. When
Hmm.
we played each of those matchups, I said I just want to see Washington stand up to Philadelphia here. And I'm sure Eagles fans are telling me, hey, Kenny Pickett was in that second game. I get it, but we're talking about the offense being able to perform, and Washington's offense did. So let's have a lot of fun with it, man. All right,
Yeah, it's gonna be a
Robertson,
good time.
thank you so much for working. Everybody, thank you
Thank
for
you.
listening. This is the Box Score Network, so we're affiliated with a lot of different podcasts, not only this YouTube channel, but also on Apple and Spotify. You can catch us a lot of work over there as well. So check us out on all those different platforms. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the football. If the Commanders win, we will be back here next week. If not, next week we'll be back on our podcast over on Odds On Favorite on Apple and Spotify. So have a great one. Enjoy the football. See you next week. Goodbye.